Podcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20. The chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Is anybody else recording this meeting? Lovely, I see none.
Roll call.
Roll call. Scott Horsley.
I am here.
Brian Hughes.
Here.
Tom Cambereri. Councilor Clark.
Here.
C. Crocker is here but stepped out for a phone call. Paul Neary. Rob O'Leary. Luis O'Neill.
Yes.
Butch Roberts.
Yes.
Glenn Snell. Councilor Starr.
Yes.
We do have quorum.
And let's see, minutes. Has anybody had a chance to review the minutes and like to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as prepared by Chris Gadd.
Any
Second?
second, Butch?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Is that a roll call?
We don't need a roll call because Rob is not a
Yeah.
voting member, so we
All
are
in
good
favor,
to
say
go.
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody.
Yes.
All right, and we'll pick our next meeting date, which is gonna be, and I have a question as we do that.
Sure.
Maybe for Chris and Gordon. Where are we at with reporting to the council? Because,
Nobody's
are they-
asked yet, no.
Nobody's asked yet. Last I heard was November, and that's the next meeting, but I just wanted to kinda get clarification on that before we pick our next meeting date, if I can.
I don't know. Is
Well,
there,
if
is
you
there a
were,
hard date at the end? I mean, I was just,
there
no,
isn't.
you can take as long, you can take till February as far as I can.
Okay, why am I remembering something about
I
November?
thought it was.
I think
Because that's
November
when the
was
election.
our goal.
Was it
I know
tied?
November 4th
Was it
is the
tied?
election.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
And
One
technically
point.
this,
Ad hoc committee.
not this ad hoc committee, but the 5-year update
Yeah,
is due in December.
Okay,
But
alright, so we have some flexibility. I
believe-
didn't know if we were
yeah.
already scheduled with the town
as
council.
far as I know, we're not.
Alright, then let's go back to what we're supposed to be doing here, picking a time in November. And let's see, a month from now would be the 11th.
So the 11th is Veterans Day. That Monday is also really no good. November 18th?
Is the 11th celebrated, or is that celebrated on the 10th?
It's 11th.
Eleventh.
So it's,
Okay.
it's the one holiday.
So it'd
on
be the
date.
18th?
On the date.
Yeah, Tuesday the 18th.
How does that sound for people?
Pretty free and selectmen's pretty.
Oh, wait a minute. Ah. Hey,
Mr. Chairman, hey.
I can't do
I did.
the
okay, so I didn't know either. I just want to go.
Wastewater. Wait a minute, maybe I can. This meeting in the. Sorry.
Isn't this the chairman's seat right
Yeah,
here?
you're gonna take over if you wanna sit
I'm
there.
feeling very uncomfortable.
I can do the 18th.
You can do the 18th, okay.
Can everyone do the 18th?
5 or 6?
Whatever's better for people.
Well, can we meet here or
We can meet here, yep. The 16th, or the 18th, pardon me,
Which one?
is,
Oh, you're here?
Actually, 6 would be better for me that day. Can we do 6 o'clock? On the 18th? Oh, sorry.
and I'm just pulling, yep, the 18th is totally free in the selectmen's. So
Okay.
6 p.m.?
Yeah.
6?
6 p.m. at Selectmen's. All right, November 18th, 6 p.m., Selectmen's Conference Room. That is the
Okay.
next meeting.
All right. Excellent. So, we have one significant item. I also have 3 other items I'm gonna add under not reasonably anticipated by the chair. So,
Before,
that I've been requested to bring up. So, but let's start with the one that's on the agenda. Continued review of policy recommendation on IA, and by the way, we're now calling that NR technology.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay, just gotta get used to it. That's what the state wants us to call it.
NR technology?
Nitrogen reducing,
Nitrogen
NR.
reducing.
We went from IA to EIA.
Yeah. Now it's.
No, it's originally eco toilets, and then
It's-
EIA,
it's-
and then NR, so.
isn't it that best?
But anyways, we have, just to remind people. we
Well, that's
do
the
have,
best available nitrogen reducing technology,
Yeah, the best.
which is a subset of NR technologies.
And just as a reminder, it is, the other terms out there is the nitrogen investigator, the nitrogen reducing technologies, so.
Technologies that aren't
These are the
nitrogen.
various terms that are out there, and I have two sub-items that are out there. We do have a written, Rob has it in his hands, draft of some of our recommendations that Rob was good enough to send around before the last meeting. We have a hard copy, we can also put it up on here, so that's one thing we can kind of look at and see what's there and where we want to go. I also asked at the last meeting for this committee to vote on a recommendation to go, I believe, to Mark Ells to see if he would potentially get funding or talk with Andrew Gottlieb to look into some legislative regulatory updates. So I don't know if anybody knows more about that, where that stands, because those were the two items that we talked about at the last meeting.
But you were working on it.
Well, I worked on it, I brought it here, I don't know what else I need to do. Maybe that's my question, what else do I need to do to get it to, just to recall, the basis for this is, and Gordon was asking about Wellfleet before we started. As you may remember, Wellfleet did get SRF commitment for NR systems. In fact, they got it 2 years in a row, and then the state pulled that back, they changed their mind. They didn't want to fund it through SRF. They recommended we go through the community septic program, which nobody seems to know a lot about.
Is that the county program?
Well, it's related to the Aquafund program, the county program.
Alright.
I think the money comes, but there's a broader program that's statewide
Okay.
that I don't know much about. So I did meet with Andrew, and he offered to potentially work on this for us and look into it more. But he wanted to have some sort of some semi-formal arrangement with the town. And suggested that be done through Mark Ells, the town
And when you
manager.
say arrangement, what does that mean?
I don't know, that's up between them, I think gets paid, I think, my understanding is what he told me is the Association to Preserve Cape Cod does special projects for towns where they have a contract, which I didn't know, but apparently that's what they do, so that's what he had suggested. And then, I can't remember, somebody suggested that I get this committee to vote to make that a recommendation, which we did at the last meeting.
Yes.
So I just need to find out maybe what needs to happen to move this forward. Yes,
Perhaps I can mention it to the town manager at tomorrow's leadership meeting.
okay.
I talked to him about it.
Is
You
that
did
right?
or will?
I did.
And what'd you hear?
The town's not interested in paying him to do
You're not?
That's
work that he should be doing as part of his job.
He should be doing as part of his job, that he said? That was Mark's,
Or, in other words, we can find out the answer to the question. We don't have to pay someone to ask questions for us.
okay. Well, thanks for letting me know, because I didn't know where it stood. Andrew's been sending me some texts now and then to check on it, but I didn't know where it actually stood. I did make some calls on this to try to educate myself and didn't get very far, which is why I reached out to Andrew. There's a person's name on DEP's website that runs the program, and I spoke with her, and I didn't get a lot of answers because people haven't been using this. And then I also reached out to Nate Keenan, who runs the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, and he agreed that it was a good idea. He told me that Mass DEP was working on some guidance on this, and then I spoke with Weldon Langley, who works, I don't know, deputy commissioner at DEP maybe, and he said the same kind of thing. So there is some things in the works, but that's all I know. And I couldn't find anybody to get a more definitive answer on what the next steps are, because frankly, I think this is pretty important for this to move forward. We're gonna need some financing, and unfortunately, the SRF rug's been pulled out. So this is an important item, and I've reached my level of knowledge on it and my contacts, so that's fine. Dan, do you have any thoughts on who could research this further, if not Andrew? And Rob?
Rob has his hand up,
Rob, go ahead.
the other Rob.
Oh,
Oh, this Rob. I'm sorry. We have two.
so that's all. I guess I have two comments. One, I asked Dan for one of them, then asked the committee, but if it's the town that would pursue this, I guess the question I have is, what entity within the town would Dan think would typically have a responsibility for this? Because you're trying to, develop a relationship or an arrangement with a state agency. So someone in the town does that, so that would be, or the Cape Cod Commission, it would seem to me. If this is not an issue unique to Barnstable, this is a Cape-wide issue,
Almost,
so,
yeah.
and that's what the commission's supposed to do, I mean, it seems to me. So why wouldn't we reach out to them and ask them to fix, sort this out and make something happen, so that it not only benefits our town, but if other communities are pursuing this as well?
Well,
Shouldn't they?
you reminded me, let me just amend my comments that I did speak with Erin Perry about this as well.
I don't know who Erin Perry
She's
is.
at the commission, she's
Okay.
deputy commissioner there,
Okay.
and she was gonna look into this,
Okay.
but didn't know a lot more. And I didn't mention, I did speak with Mark Milne twice about this as well. He did do some of his own research, we talked about it, but there's no definitive.
Right.
I haven't been able to get any clarity from
Got it.
anybody.
All right, I
And I
understand.
did mention to Erin mentioned she thought it might even go to the Cape and Islands Trust Fund, Water Protection Fund, for discussion, because they have to vote it ultimately to
Okay.
get the subsidy, the grant forgiveness.
Right,
And the other thing I did find, just to kind of put it all out there, I did read the legislation again, and to my pleasant surprise, the term innovative and alternative septics is in the legislation that created the Cape and Islands Fund. So that suggested to me that the ability for them to approve is
already
certainly
there.
there. It's kind of already there.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the other issue is, what the state's doing, because my understanding is there's $5 million appropriated on the IUP, which is the SRF list. That's $5 million statewide, so obviously we need more money than that if this is gonna be
Right,
so I don't know how that gets funded. I'm at the limit of my knowledge, so I think we need some help.
I'm happy to talk to Mark
Okay.
Ells and Mark Milne again.
Okay,
Mark Ells has good contacts there, and
okay,
get him to ask this question and see if we can get an answer
Okay.
at his level from the state.
okay,
Well, we understand the question and that you want an answer, and I think that's the best way to do it.
okay.
And we just didn't think that it made sense to pay someone to ask questions that we can ask ourselves.
Okay,
So remind me of the question. Can somebody just be, so the question is, how do we get
How
them?
do we access this $5 million?
well, I think the question is,
or more.
how can the community septic management program, I think is the correct term, take the place of SRF to provide financing to towns? And the second part of that is, how can the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund offer the loan forgiveness? So those are the two, and maybe the third question is, how do we get more money in there,
In there, yeah,
right? So there's three questions
Yeah.
all right.
that I see, and so where are we gonna leave this again, Dan? You're gonna speak with Mark Milne or Mark,
Both of them.
both Marks?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and get back to us,
Yeah,
okay.
specific effort to get these questions answered.
I will mention, I did get a positive, statement from both Nate Keenan, who runs the Clean Water Trust, and Weldon Langley that, this should happen. So there's recognition at the state level, this is important, and many towns, several towns are interested in it. So I was encouraged by that, but, okay, well, thank you, Dan, that's helpful. So maybe we now can move to the language, and Rob, the other Rob, Steen, you're with us remotely. Do you have a suggestion? I can't remember exactly how far we got on this the last time on the
So,
language. Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes,
So last time, my memory was, we introduced it, you guys wanted to go away and think about it for a meeting, for an interim period of time. We're now back, and so I would think at this point, you would have a discussion on the language in front of you, with your committee, and then if the committee has no discussion points, then you would probably say, is this language we want to adopt or not? But I think you're at the point where we introduced it last time, You guys took it away, and correct me if someone remembers it differently, that's what my memory mean. I talked to Chris a little bit beforehand, and that's kind of what his notes said as well.
Okay. I remember we talked about the 1,000 feet, and I thought we did get some pretty good support for that as a target area. But I think we need to think through again, 1,000 feet from where, which watersheds. I think we said outside phase 1, phase 2 areas is my recollection. But including phase 3, this would work. Right down there.
Yeah, because you were talking about surface water. Okay.
Well,
These are the
minutes.
minutes, right.
You want to just read that, Lois, so everybody can hear it? Go ahead,
Which
just that paragraph there.
Regarding the suggestion, Scott asked, regarding the suggestion of parcels within 1,000 feet of surface water that feeds into a nitrogen-sensitive water body, whether consideration has been given to ponds which aren't connected by surface water but are connected through groundwater. And then Rob responds that this is written as the committee said it. The idea of including ponds did not occur to him. If the committee wishes, ponds can be added. Scott notes it would be helpful to clarify water feeding into a water body, either through surface water or through groundwater, and then going into the IA systems.
Let's hold off on the pond discussion because we're gonna bring that's one of my other items I wanna bring up. Butch and I spoke about that for the meeting, but so again, my recollection was 1,000 feet was outside phase 1 and phase 2 areas, it would not apply.
Right.
Within phase 3, it would apply. Stop me if I get this wrong.
No, it's on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
On the screen, it's all written right there.
all right.
But keep going.
So it includes phase 1 or phase 2, just in areas that are not gonna have any sewer.
Say that again, Z?
You know, I think it's outside of, I don't know if that's inclusive of phase 1 or phase 2. Is it phase 2?
Just reading what it says
Right.
within 1,000 feet of nitrogen-sensitive water bodies, within 1,000 feet of surface waters, and if you're not identified to receive municipal sewer
Right.
as part
So
of
it
phase
could,
1 or
it
phase
could be
2.
part of 1 or 2, whatever, right, okay, fine.
So it currently is written that phase 1 and phase 2 would not be applicable.
Right, that was my recollection, right?
And without saying it, it would include the stages and well, that area. Which is good.
Help me out with the additionally, I'm stuck on that.
I'm kind of.
Additionally,
So basically, if your property does not fail, it doesn't, whatever, but it is within 1,000 feet, it is on
Okay, then you have
Little
20
Island,
years.
Grand
Okay,
Island,
got it.
within 20 years, you have to upgrade.
Got it, okay.
Essentially, everyone's
Yep.
going
yep.
by those triggers, or 20 years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm reading the two shalls. It says, shall upon needing to replace their property, their septic because it failed.
Mm-hmm.
And then shall upon property change or expansion. It seems to say, well, even if it failed, you don't have to change it till the property gets changed, gets sold or equivalent. And I don't believe that's the idea.
They're both triggers, right?
Yeah, they're both triggers.
They're both triggers.
Yes, an or in there.
so either one would trigger it.
Right. That should be made clear.
So what do people think about those triggers? Any,
What's the footnote on expansion? Are we talking about
Property
major?
change or expansion number 4, that's just as defined by Title 5.
Expansion of bedrooms?
That is, I have the actual thing here, hang on. Was it 15,301?
So I have a question. We took a stab at like ring fencing that number in the past. Dan kind of brought it up. Do we have any idea of what those numbers might be on an annualized basis? In other words, we talked about
We
how
had
many
those-
systems were
we had
upgraded,
those
how many
previously.
failed,
I
It was
don't-
like 5%, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had those
Roughly?
previously, but I
Yeah,
don't have
some-
them with me
Okay,
today,
just
yeah.
trying to remember. What kind of numbers we're talking about?
5%
It was
townwide.
5% townwide,
Chris, we can do that later.
of properties were sold in a year was roughly what we came up with.
Right, so I think we were coming up with the number that this was like 50 a year.
It's essentially instead of-
That's what I recall.
Was it, right?
That's roughly what I recall seeing,
Right.
yeah.
If property is
Sorry.
defined on any of those first two phases, that's just not,
We're exempting phase one,
Question,
phase two sewer
yeah,
areas.
okay, Willow Island. Okay.
Yeah, I think this looks good. So we, I guess procedural question, which I think I brought up before, I don't remember the answer. Does this committee as an ad hoc committee vote to make a recommendation? Is that how we?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So we could take a motion and second it and make a vote. So,
Did you?
Yeah, I wanna ask
Yeah.
one thing first.
May not
So
take-
we have this recommendation, we also talked about doing something relative to phase 3. Is
this would apply to phase
This
three.
applies to phase 3
Because that's
as
a
well?
nitrogen sensitive area, right? Yeah,
This would be within 1,000 feet of water bodies
1,000
or
feet.
surface
So up
waters.
and down the river.
It wouldn't be all of phase
It
3.
wouldn't be, but we thought we had talked about that idea.
That was
I see what
discussed,
you're
as-
Conceptual.
that was discussed as an option at one point, but
Okay.
that's not,
I'm broadening it out.
my understanding is
But
that's
it's
not
not
what's reflected
incorporated.
here.
No.
Yeah, so Z, yeah, I had brought that to the table. We had talked about it. My sense when listening to the committee and when Chris and I were pulling this together was the committee was more interested in what you see in front of you, that may be something else that's eventually discussed, but that at this point in time, at least one meeting, it felt like the phase 3 might be a leap too far. This might be more the focus area of the committee. If I misunderstood that, I'm happy to, I mean, obviously I brought it to the table, so I'm happy to bring it back, but this is what we were hearing from the committee in terms of where we thought you wanted to be in terms of language and area.
No, I think that's good. I think what we need to figure out, in my mind, is that, yes, we need to vote on it, but I'd like to figure out a way to characterize the scope and size of it. So if it's roughly 50 units a year,
How many is it gonna be?
I wanna be able to answer Dan's question that he's brought up in the past, which is it too little to matter? And does it matter? And how do we get to the ability to present to town council and say, well, it does matter as a first step on a longer road,
So we
which
should have,
presumably includes expansion of sewer and other steps that we're gonna take, right? So I guess I wanna figure out how to wrap that into
so we
this
should
conversation.
have the numbers then.
Right, we need some
We do
numbers.
have them, we just don't have them with us at the moment.
Yeah, we reviewed them previously, so you may have them, Chris, available. Yeah, I've got them.
But if we're gonna talk about those numbers, the other number I think is, which is important, gets back to your finance question, which is, what's the specific financial burden we're putting on these 50 residence owners, okay? And what are their opportunities to pay for this?
Right.
50 is across the whole town.
Well, it's 50 within within this, phase 1, 2, 3 of this regulation, potential regulation that we're talking about, right? Isn't that right?
No, I thought, my understanding was that 50 was town-wide.
Yeah, but I thought when we looked
50
at the
houses.
numbers,
Pull
it
the
was like
numbers up.
1,000, and it came out, when you looked at the numbers, X phase 1, 2, 3, and we looked at what the scope, it looked like it was maybe 50 a year based on property transfers, failed systems,
It was
all
that order of
all that kind stuff.
magnitude, yeah, it was that order of
And it was-
We
magnitude,
applied the 5%
right,
to
Right.
the area.
correct.
To the
So we
area
took
to
the
get-
5%
to get to the
townwide
50.
and we applied
You're
it
saying
to
it's
this
50
area.
per year?
Right.
The
It was that
designated
order of
area.
magnitude,
Yeah.
again, I don't recall what the number was,
Right.
but.
Within that.
Of the 1,000 feet
Fall into
within
that
surface
category.
water bodies.
So Z, my recollection of the costing of this, at least I had suggested that we consider a similar cost share as what we're doing for sewer.
Yeah, you
Somehow.
proposed that, yeah.
And this obviously relates back to the financing question,
Right.
but, and I know this is being discussed in other towns too. The idea would be that the cost share would be similar, if not the same, whether you're on the sewer or you're on the decentralized part of the wastewater plant.
Which is why I think that if we're gonna wrap this into a proposal, we also need to address the money part of the proposal,
Yes.
which I've written about in some of my newsletters, and if you take back of the envelope and you'd use what you're talking about there, I would say some percentage, probably 60%, it might be less than that for waterfront properties, I don't know, are residences. So they would have the advantage of the $18,000 tax credit at the state level to offset this, right?
Yep.
And then arguably, using your argument, then you might also create some $10,000 hurdle number or some like number, right, that you have to pay as a home. There's gotta be some structure. What's that?
I think we talked about too, if it's mandated,
Right.
then they can also access support from the Aqua Fund. It
Okay.
has to be mandated though.
I guess that's what I wanna make sure we at least spend some time on, maybe not right this minute, but we need to figure that out. Right?
So if we're gonna vote on this, maybe we add some notes about financing and cost share to it, at least an intent. We may not have all the answers right now. Rob?
Yeah, just quick question then. So are there two proposals or one? And what I mean by that is it one recommendation of town council is to adopt what you see in front of you regardless. The second recommendation is to do a financing plan for this. Or alternatively, is it if you can't do the financing plan, don't do this. You know what I'm saying? So as I'm listening to the debate, I think you need to decide which one of those buckets that you're gonna go into. Do this, and then we'll try to figure some financing out. Or if we can't figure financing out, don't do this, town council, because you may find a town council that's amenable, and I don't wanna speak for them, but it's amenable to the technical solution, but is hesitant about the financial solution, or vice versa, actually. You know what I'm saying?
Make the first case and let it ride.
Yes.
Say again.
Well, why
Make the
don't
first case
we
and let
happen
it
to have a
ride.
couple of town council members, why don't we get their opinion on it while they're here?
We've got an upcoming election, the constellation is
Right,
gonna
I
change.
understand
We
that,
can't
but,
speak
you know, is a presentation that doesn't, you know, address the financial issue, is that appropriate or is it not appropriate? I mean, you can ask for it, I guess we can ask for anything, I can ask for a ride to the moon, but, you know, don't we have to have some grounding in finance to be able to talk about how we get from point A to point B, that's all.
So what is the differential, the delta there between what a nitrogen reducing system and what somebody pays if they go to Kelly and hook up to the, is it $30,000?
I mean, those costs are, I mean, just for
I
me
know.
speaking out loud, they're gonna vary. The
Yeah,
same
yeah.
way sewer connections vary. Everyone likes to try to, cherry pick a number and say this is how much it costs, but they
Right.
vary so drastically based on the property. I'm talking sewer connection now.
Yeah,
And I think the same is to be said about IA systems too.
depends on what
Kelly, what was-
system you
We've heard a
use, yeah.
range of numbers for
Yeah.
IA, the same way you all have probably heard a range of numbers for sewer connections.
What would you say the range is for the sewer?
So for sewer currently, because we do work very closely with the Aqua Fund, I mean, we have direct contact with one of the loan specialists. For Barnstable, the average has been between $7,000 and $12,000 for a sewer connection. Now, that's also with the $10,000 assessment. However, our first two projects, the assessments come in way under the $10,000 cap.
Average or range?
That's the range they've given us, yeah. Shouldn't
So the
confuse
total
average.
cost, the total cost of the homeowner, including the connection and the betterment charge is how much?
So the range that Aqua Fund gave us was 7 to 12 for the sewer connection. And then our sewer assessments are capped at 10,000, but the first two projects, one was what?
First two projects have been less than 10,000
Yeah,
because of the
under.
cost of the project and the amount of parcels to connect, so.
This has been like 7?
One was
One was under 5,000 and one was over 5,000.
yeah.
I'm just trying to get a
Rough
sense
numbers.
of the range putting those.
It's under, yeah, I mean, it varies from every
Probably 10
project and every parcels.
Yeah.
I would operate under the assumption moving forward, it's gonna be 10,000 though.
So then
They were-
you,
Total,
No, for the assessment.
so 10
We're
plus.
going to reach the
So
$10,000
17
caps.
to 22,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so 20 grand, average maybe?
I would say average.
Okay, so that's kind of your answer to your question, I think, Gordon, which is a good question. Now, the average cost of an IA, I'd say 55,000.
And we're
So
talking.
you're looking at a 30-something plus $1,000.
So that if you were gonna make it equal, you'd need like a 30K subsidy.
And 18,000 is maybe stacked, but not for everybody, not everybody qualifies for the tax credits.
You know, look like about 60% of the residential community is a full-time resident.
Okay, yeah,
And about similarly, a 60% of that number earns what you'd need to earn to get the full credit of $18,000, which would mean you have to earn a little bit over $90,000 a year in order to get $4,500 of credit off of your state tax.
Yeah.
This is tax credit.
And then another factor, the Aqua Fund.
Yep.
So there's the 0 up to 4% interest rates. Sewer connections are eligible for 0% only. So anything outside of it, so an IA would be a 2 or a 4%.
One thing to remember with that $55,000 number, it's not $55,000 for the IA system, it's $55,000 for the whole septic system.
That's right.
Of which the IA upgrade, so to speak, is roughly half of it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
right, so,
That's right.
yeah.
And some places, as we learned in Schuyl's Pond, don't need a new septic tank leach
Right.
field.
Right.
Many of them will
Cost
be
is
able to
lower.
reuse their septic system presumably.
Yeah.
And put a new tank in line, so.
So back to Rob's question, which is a good one, are we making two separate recommendations here? I kind of think we are. One is, I kind of feel like we should move forward with this regardless. Tisbury has a regulation requiring this without financing. And people are doing it. So, that's, again, to me, it's not equitable. Be much better to have the financing in place, but I think my thought is this is two recommendations.
I don't know,
Ask
it's
you
a
historical question. Back when we were considering sewering, what was the thoughts from the council about, do we mandate sewer and then think about funding, or a single package?
Oh, good question.
The council didn't have to some extent, remember that the sewering, there's a TMDL mandate there. That we need to comply with the TMDLs. So this is slightly different in the sense that this will certainly help with the TMDLs, but someone will be able to make the argument, you've got the sewering now in place to deal with the TMDLs, why are you doing this to me? The council last time when you were looking at this had a mandate that they had to sort of fulfill. Do you know what I mean, Brian, by that?
Yeah.
So it's not really an apples to apples conversation.
So they have to say, we shall do sewering, and then they said, but we can help you as a separate entity, separate item.
I think it came to us as a package, because it was a recommendation from Mark Milne that it be $17,000.
Okay.
And then a motion was made to reduce it to 10,000. Is that how you would call it?
Yeah, ultimately, the comprehensive wastewater management plan addresses both the technical side of it and the financial side of it. That's why it's comprehensive, right?
Yeah.
So, it did come as a package.
And it took a long time to get there.
Oh,
It wasn't
absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
here's
Yeah.
an idea. This was years to get to that point. So I think you've got a recommendation right here. And then what it needs is a backup, just like any ordinance that goes in front of the town council. So you've got whatever the ordinance is, and then you've got a backup with it that describes it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
I'm
no,
not
this
sure
will
how
have-
how much meat we could put on the bones, because there's so many unknowns really. But I think it's not a recommendation for the finance, it's like, it's the backup to this, so people understand it. That's what I think.
I think it's part of the same package.
Sorry.
I think it's part of the same package.
Okay, all right, so it's
The
one.
information-
I think that's reasonable. I don't mind the idea of attaching like a, the 5-year revisit on a plan like this to agree to look at it and develop a finance committee or a subcommittee or whatever it's gonna be to understand how to pay for systems like this, which in my view are likely to become a larger part of the solution over time. As we understand the technology, as the technology improves, distributed wastewater technology is gonna be a big part of the solution longer term in areas where sewer is and is not, in my view, anyway. So if we do that, then there is a potential two-part thing.
Okay,
I think that can work.
so would anybody like to make a motion?
Can I ask one question? Tom brought up a question about stages, about, were they included?
Yeah, they would be included
They would be included as a part
as
of
a
the CWP.
definition of 1,000 feet from the water body.
Those are nitrogen sensitive
So they're all,
areas.
they're all
those-
within that
those-
range, basically?
Bless you.
Because they're outside of
Shoestring
the,
Bay and everything ought to
Yeah.
be included, yeah, I
Yeah.
would think so.
because they're outside of phase one, phase two, there are stages that are out there.
They're still part of the CWMP.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So they're affected by it.
Still part of the
Okay,
town,
still-
still, you know.
Currently
if you're within-
identified in either phase one or phase two, so.
If you're within 1,000 feet of this nitrogen sensitive area, known as Shoestring Bay, then you have to upgrade.
Chair would entertain a motion.
To accept that?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have
Further
a
discussion,
question.
further discussion.
Yeah, we talked the last meeting about spreading this out over the whole town that's not being sewered, so not just in the 1,000-foot boundary, but
Yep.
everybody in the area that's not being sewered. Now, what happens to that if we pass this?
Well, we are gonna talk about ponds tonight a little bit, but we're
This
talking
is
about
beyond
even
the
beyond that. We
Yeah,
did,
this
we
is
did have
beyond
that conversation, but I think we pulled back to the 1,000 feet as a starting point. That's my recollection.
To me, it's gotta be part of an adaptive plan that we say, just like the CWMP plan, we're gonna revisit it every 5 years
Yeah.
or some period of time, with the hope that it's gonna get expanded over time to be more inclusive ponds and the rest of the town, right? We know that half the town doesn't get any treatment on the north side,
Yeah,
so.
I think the other thing that's, we have to keep in mind is that some people are still a little, thinking about the fact that these are provisionally approved as opposed to general approved.
Yeah.
So, while everything looks great, I think there's still some, hopefully in a year or two, we'll be there. So, if that approval comes through, maybe there can be another recommendation to take the next step. I think this is a good starting point. I think it's a bit of a compromise, I think, to get things off and running. And the other advantage here is, I think we all believe that 1,000 feet is a 2-year flow time, so we're likely to see some benefits.
But you're still loading the groundwater with all that nitrogen.
True.
Which is gonna
Understood.
run into the bay.
What do you say, don't let good get in the way of the perfect? Is that your line, Z?
That's the line.
Don't let perfect get in the way of good.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. We can't get to perfect, we're not certainly gonna get to it here. The sewer plant isn't perfect, okay? So we need to address some of these things for sure.
Chris?
I think the 1,000-foot rule would actually help a lot of areas, especially Shoestring Bay, the whole Centerville, Bumps River area, very compromised.
Question for the professionals, what's the industry looking like? Is it gonna be able to absorb this demand for services, professional
I
services?
think the numbers we're talking about should be not a problem, my understanding, because we have had those conversations. I'm looking at Z, because he talks a lot with these guys, but I think.
Well, everything I see is that it's achievable.
Yeah. We've
Not
put
there yet,
we put this
right?
question to them
So I
several
think
times.
Yeah.
you know,
Because I'm just saying, when we launch this, we have to be,
Yep.
the private sector has to be ready to say, we're heading off to.
Well, part of this is also that the DPW and Board of Health work on which systems we're talking about here. Right now, there's, I think, definitely 2 that meet the standards, this not only nitro, but nitrex. And I think, that adds to capacity, and there very likely might be a third technology coming along. So I think that helps also.
Scott, what's the status of this urine diversion thing? Is that,
We'll find out more tomorrow.
I guess so.
By the way, I should mention, everybody know, tomorrow and Thursday, all-day conferences on urine diversion at the Mass Tech.
But it's not recognized as one of these, what do you call it, the best available
I
technologies?
think the
at
state
this
hasn't
point?
approved it yet, is that right? Where are we with state
Um,
approval for that? I don't know if it's provisional or not, or is it?
It's not listed as a provisional approval, but they did get plumbing approval and all that stuff, so people can put them in. But I don't think, it's not on the Barton list. But certainly, actually, I think my understanding of, where's that recommendation, down the bottom here. I think that could be up to the town to make that decision.
It's not ultimately a disposal system, which is what we're talking about.
It's not really.
Composting system or a urine diversion system could potentially meet the meet the muster of what you're trying to get done.
So I'm actually interested to see what they say tomorrow, Scott.
What's that?
I'm interested to see what they say tomorrow on UD, but earlier looks at UD, initially they thought UD would remove 90% of the nitrogen, and then when Sia was working with it in Falmouth, she was only finding like a 50% removal on UD from the nitrogen coming from the house. So I think that's one of the reasons I'm going to attend that tomorrow, is I'm trying to figure out, has that number now been refined, and do we have a better sense of what UD is actually removing?
Yeah.
I'll be part of that, because with UD, we're still going to have to figure out how we deal with and where we go with and what we do with the actual U part of that.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and if you take it out, and this is just, you and I have had this conversation before, if you take it out and sprinkle it on your lawn, I'm not buying the fact we're getting it out of the watershed.
I
Yeah,
have
let's not-
heard of technologies, and I don't know where this is, that does take UD product and turn it into nitrogen products that
Oh,
are
yeah.
useful.
Right.
Yeah, they'll turn into a phosphorus product with struvite. Europe is doing some of that. We don't have production of that right now, other than maybe Deer Island, I think, was doing some of that at one point. So those are all kind of, with that technology, there comes its own independent set of questions, and those are amongst them.
Well,
But I am going to watch tomorrow because I'm curious to know where it's at. I haven't plugged into that unit for a while.
yeah, we should be learning a lot more in the next couple of days, but let me suggest, I think this is a little beyond scope here, because the recommendation is to have the DPW and the Board of Health do this. That's not, I don't think it's our job here. We don't need to get that far, but I think certainly mentioning that's a potential, those technologies are potential is reasonable. Somebody
I
else?
think we should stay focused on, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I was just curious, what you thought, that,
Yeah.
I think the recommendation is
Okay.
fine the way it is.
Rob?
The other communities that are considering this in the Cape and Islands, are they limiting it to, this
1,000
sort of
feet.
1,000 feet, or are they doing it generically across the town?
Well, I can speak to Wellfleet. Wellfleet, the reg that is in place today is the whole watershed. But they're pushing back to go to this kind of thing. They're now saying the whole nitrogen sensitive area.
What are they doing in the vineyard?
Tisbury is the same. They don't, it's not, but they're also considering the 1,000 feet as an add-on. They want to, because right now Tisbury is triggered by failures, expansions, transfers, same as this. That only gets stuff that's happening. Nobody's going out and requiring a whole bunch of systems to upgrade, but they're thinking about adding. So nobody has it right now.
Adding the requirement.
1,000 feet, yeah. For the same reasons we've been talking about it. So I don't think anybody has it yet, Rob, but it's under
But it
discussion.
looks like there's a consensus building around.
I think so, and, Amber's presentation, I think, was pretty helpful. I mean, when you look at that map, there's a lot of systems really close to the shore. I think thinking about the 2-year travel time is
Yeah.
interesting to those of us who aren't gonna be around to see the full benefit of this plan implemented, which I think is probably everybody at the table, right?
Speak for yourself.
That's morbid.
Like, don't point, like, thanks, Scott.
I'm talking about the 30-year flow time,
Oh,
railroad flow time on top of the implementation, not. But anyways, so we have a motion and a second.
So
Further
before we
discussion?
do that, can I just get clarification on what the motion is?
Well, I think it's this, plus I think we
So
said,
is it number 1, number 2, all of it?
I think it's all of
The
it,
entire,
but I think it's,
draft.
I think it's also, we wanna add some notes on the financing and cost sharing. I'm not sure what that is yet, but I think we can,
I think it's just number
and
one.
I think on top of this, we want to do some more work on the numbers, just as an estimate.
Yeah, we'll
We
have
get-
that
we can
when you're,
tell if we can
when you're
get to-
presenting this to the council,
Yeah.
we'll
Right,
provide
to
those
get
numbers.
to get to Chris's question, is that, we're talking 50 a year, then achieving that from a delivery standpoint shouldn't be that difficult. If it's 500 a year, it might be.
oh, that's separate.
Yeah.
Let's just number 1 and 2.
1 and 2, so
So-
I think you need to identify this.
Yeah,
1
Lois
and
just
2.
good point. So just to clarify the motion, I think it refers to points number 1 and 2 on this draft, Rob.
Under I.
Point 3 gets into ADUs and whatnot,
Okay, so I should withdraw my motion and restate it.
to points 1 and 2
Point,
Yeah.
in the draft.
motion as now stated is to approve points 1 and 2 of the draft statement as what we will present to the town council as the recommendation.
A second on that.
Second.
Second. Okay, further discussion on that? I guess I would just also add to, can we just add a simple sentence to the end that we recommend that the council consider financing options and cost sharing options to implement this?
Sure.
Leave it that general at this point,
Yes.
just so at least we put the cost issue out there.
Chris, you got that?
So maybe that's the motion with
With
my
the addition,
amendment?
yeah. As
Okay.
amended by.
Okay. Any further discussion? Is this a roll call vote or not?
It is not, nope, everyone's here in
Right.
person.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Just for the record.
we'll get there. All right, so you got that recorded? Excellent. We accomplished something significant tonight. All right, and we're gonna probably return to this for more detail as we go. Certainly on the financing cost. If we can hear something back at the next meeting, Dan, that would really be helpful. Thank you again for offering to take that ball and run with it, because it's been a tough one.
And just make a note that we will not be presenting to town council till after the new councilors are seated.
Yep.
Right.
Right. So I have, as I mentioned, I have 3 additional items, the first of which is pretty directly related to this. Butch and I spoke recently about ponds, and maybe I'll let you, Butch, articulate your question or thought on this.
Well, I'm not sure that it's much different. Nitrogen systems are known primarily to help seawater.
Yep.
And not so much in ponds, but we're seeing some indication that some of the cyanobacteria is sensitive to nitrogen and will grow as a result of it. And because the technology is developing, the likelihood of having phosphorus removal systems is coming along behind it. But the other point that I made is that we really need to remove as much nitrogen as we can coming out of the system, whether it's around a pond or not. And so, yeah, it applies, I think, equally as well to ponds, because it will force cyanobacteria. We also have a lot more cyanobacteria this year than cropping up than we have in the past. And I think that's just a continuing trend, so.
Would that be in part because of the drought?
I have no clue to that, I mean, because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
If Amber was here, she would be the one to answer that, but I think, we think there's probably a link.
You think
And the
what?
heat,
There's likely a link to the
Okay.
fact that the water table's down. There's less volume in the pond.
Heat
Heat.
helps too.
Heat, yeah, it's the temperature.
it's cooking.
Of the drought.
Yes.
I'll mention that I did speak after we spoke to Mark Nelson, my colleague at Worsley Witten Group, who most people know, and I think he's gonna try to come to the next meeting. He's working with the Brewster Ponds Coalition, and we've been very active on this exact issue. And they are considering doing some pilot work with some of the phosphorus IA systems. There are a couple technologies. Apparently, there's one that's been installed on Long Pond, I think. Jane Ward put one in. Was that a Fuji? And I think there's at least one other technology now. The challenge with these are they're either not only provisional, but some might be even pilot, which is the first phase. So there's a little bit more involved. But one thought that Mark actually suggested maybe we could talk about is potentially doing a pilot, or maybe the town considering doing a pilot, much like Schubel's Pond, using some of these pilot and provisional systems to try to help move that along, because that's essentially what Schubel Pond has done, is move the ball along, learning more about it. So Mark's thought was maybe we could consider that as a potential step forward, because the context of this is part of the Phase 3 sewering plan is to get the sewers up to these septics around the ponds. So if we're gonna start moving towards NR, we can't leave the ponds high and dry. We gotta do something there, and
We really need to kickstart the technology.
yeah.
And there's at least a couple systems out there that we could bring in, I think that could be ready for some real piloting. But that needs a push and cooperation. The thought that if you've got some of the ponds that we've identified, that you can identify the houses that are contributing to the ponds, like on Trubel and Long Pond Marston's Mills, if you piloted on those systems, for instance, you might be able to get some reward for your investment. And it might help defray some of the sewer costs in the future on some of those situations.
Just mention that we were listening on TV to the Conservation Commission hearing a week ago for other reasons. And I don't remember the context which just came up, but one commissioner said there's this technology, it's incredibly simple. You take a bale of hay, you throw it in a pond, and a few weeks later, before it's disintegrated, you pull it out and it's sucked up nitrogen and phosphorus. I was hoping Amber is here, maybe she may have heard of it, or Rob, have you heard of that?
Barley straw.
Barley straw.
Barley straw has been done in England.
Okay.
The Conservation Commission rejected it, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
So,
Not,
talked
they
about
didn't
being
reject
tried,
the
but I don't think it's been
technology.
tried here.
They didn't reject the technology. As my understanding, the rejection was they didn't want someone other than the town
Try
managing
it.
the project.
There's literature on it, there's
Okay.
information on it.
This seems like an amazingly simple thing to try.
Yeah, it's been tried a number of times. I think the first time I remember it was like in Harwich, maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We were looking at the
right.
barley straw. I forget who the natural resource person was there.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not sure how well documented it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, Amber's definitely investigated it. I can't speak for her, so we can ask her to provide some information perhaps at the next meeting. One of the thoughts that I have, just not being entirely educated on the barley straw, but I would think scale would be challenging for some of our larger ponds. It seems like an application that's more ideal for small ponds, just because.
Like a schoolhouse pond more.
Yeah, the much smaller ponds. To me, it just seems to make sense that scale would be a problem with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Scott, can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
Hey, just to give context to this conversation, one of the things that we've talked about at DPW is that back when we did the CWMP, the nitrogen IAs weren't where they are now. And so this 5-year update really is focused on nitrogen IA technology. It's not a long stretch to say if there's a group that sort of picked it up and ran with it, phosphorus IA technology could be there 5 years from now, and the next time this group meets, may or not be the same people, what they could be talking about is phosphorus IA technology. So I think the conversation is a good conversation, as long as it's kept in the scope of, we've got about a 5-year runway here to see if we can get some technology off the ground, get it through pilot into provisional at least, and then see what kind of results we're getting, so that 5 years from now, when this group reconvenes, we've this time started the deal with nitrogen. We'll probably update our nitrogen IA recommendations, and then can start having serious conversations about solutions for ponds like Long Pond, Marston's Mills, et cetera, in terms of what are the phosphorus solutions there. The point is, though we don't see anything right now, we didn't see anything back when we first wrote the CWMP. Lots of good work happened in 5 years. The same thing can happen again.
Rob, I think that makes sense. I guess my question is, do we the town want to be proactive in what might be happening with moving the phosphorus technologies along? And
The town's not a great scientific body. that's kind of not what we're wired to do
Well,
in
wait,
many ways.
let me finish my thought. I wasn't suggesting town staff do the R&D on this, but the town could sponsor some pilot work, much like the coalition did with Schubel's Pond. There's grant money out there. This seems to me Barnstable is as interested in this pond issue as anybody. Maybe Brewster's up there too, but
You got 163 ponds, guys.
yeah. And I know the town's already invested quite a bit of money hiring S-Mass doing studies on these ponds. It just strikes me that, I agree with you, Rob, I think that this is probably, the technology's lagging behind the nitrogen stuff, but I'm just wondering what we can do as a recommendation to the council to try to be a little more proactive in developing those technologies. And again, things that come to my mind is pilot project work. I don't have specific ideas, but maybe this is something we can, and I was gonna also suggest, thanks Griffin for mentioning that, asking Amber if she could come back at maybe the next meeting, we could put this on the agenda for a brief update and get her thoughts on this.
On what
On
specifically?
pond technologies in general, including the IAs, and whatever else she thinks is relevant, and then maybe we can use that to formulate a recommendation to the council.
But I think to Rob's point, that we should be, or the town should be, more managerial in their approach
Yes.
to identify outside entities that can actually do this review
Yes,
for us.
yeah.
I would have a slightly different twist on this. My recommendation would be that we select a certain number of ponds and try to better characterize where the flow is coming from. We know we can do that. It's not that hard, it's simple technology. While we look to learn about technology that's not necessarily ready for prime time, there's only a few systems out there. We really don't know much about them.
Right.
I don't know whether they work or they don't work. But more importantly, in my mind, we don't really know where to put them. I think we need to know where to put them. And that's where I think characterizing not every pond, but some ponds, and understanding where the flow is, and then being able to identify where to put them.
Yeah.
Especially, one of my bigger concerns is we are decimating the scientific community right now. And the very people that we rely on and have relied on to give us all the information about the nitrogen technology, they're going away.
Two of the, to your point, two of the USGS sites that I use in my work are inactive now.
Yeah, they're furloughed. Who knows? So, but we need that. We really can't do this work without science.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't identify where the flow is coming from in the ponds. That's relatively easy.
We have done that at a handful
Yeah.
of ponds already through our management plan program, which is identified.
Right.
These are the 40, 50, 60 parcels around a pond that need to have some sort of wastewater mitigation in order to result in a healthy pond.
So I think-
Schubel's Pond, Long Pond, Marston's Mills, we've done that.
And I think if we found a small enough pond, or ponds, and figured out somewhere to put in a half a dozen systems in the right place, then we may be able to monitor and figure out do they work, do they not work. Everything I know about phosphorus is very hard to track.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so I guess my suggestion, we'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting, see if we can get Amber here.
Yeah.
To lead that discussion a little bit and have a little more, and we can all think about some potential approaches.
Yeah.
My question is, do we want to make a recommendation, some kind of recommendation to the council along these lines? And I do think it's linked to the action we just took. Because if we start heading down the NR road instead of sewer in one of these areas, we can't leave the ponds without another, kind of begs the question of what do we do with the ponds?
I'd like
That's
to
all.
just throw out a different concept, and that's your permeable reactive barriers around ponds on the north side, on the recharging side.
You did that at Shumat Pond, right?
They did it at Shumat Pond quite successfully with that reduced the huge wastewater effluent plume. So the PRB technology is getting much more advanced at this point, and they've made some good, making it very efficient to in place in the ground these days. so with injection technology. So that's something, another technology altogether. I don't know if Amber's up on that or
Thomas,
people have been looking at that, but.
thanks for reminding me. I don't know a lot about that, read a little bit, but is this something we could circulate to the committee that would be a Reader's Digest version as opposed to the high-tech?
I'll look for it,
If you
look for
could.
something, yeah. I mean, there's the USGS paper, which is not the lay public one, but,
Yeah.
but maybe there's other types that about PRBs, you know.
Were these barriers to prevent more nitrogen flowing into the pond or out of the pond?
Well, it depends on which nutrient you really want to go after. You know, if you're going after phosphorus, it would be, you know, it might be a kind of iron type of emplacement. You know, if it's nitrogen, it might be you know, carbon emplacement.
But which direction is it preventing? Out of the pond or into the pond?
Into the pond. Yeah, you want to reduce the amount that's coming into the pond.
Okay, well, let's, we'll have that on the agenda, so people think, yep.
I have another question. Are you looking to make these Board of Health regulations?
I think you're ahead of me.
Because perhaps we need to get an opinion from the legal department where they think our best avenue is.
Well, I think, you're talking about requiring these installations through a regulation, is that what you think? Like we're doing with, we're proposing, again, I think the problem is, as Rob said, we're probably several years behind in terms of which technologies can work, and to Z's point, some of these ponds are not even sure where the recharge shoreline is.
No, that's good.
So we need, the science needs to be brought up to speed, I think, before we recommend a regulatory change, is what I'm kind of hearing. But we could certainly entertain that again. We can take up this whole other item again. I just wanted to mention it tonight because Butch and I spoke about it.
Counselor, I think what your question is in regards to what was voted on?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
I think she's asking about what the mechanism is to, where would this ordinance, if it does advance past the council, for instance?
This regulation?
Yeah.
Oh. is
Would that be a
what-
town council ordinance, or would it be a Board of Health regulation? I think that's what the question is, and that is a question that we should bring up to legal. I absolutely agree with that, and we can certainly ask that question.
What's our
Would it
most
be,
effective path?
Yeah.
Probably, well, in this, it's probably health regulation, would be my
Yes.
guess.
I don't know if it necessarily has to be. We can.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Ah,
This was from the last meeting.
Okay.
We spoke about that.
okay. So that's right, you and I both suggested two different things.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
health regulation and zoning, yeah, good, okay.
I have a question about the floating island. Is that something that has been finished yet or any
Yeah, it's a
results?
pilot project, so it's relatively small, but it's in Long Pond, Marston's Mills. It's
Has it been
When
pulled
one
out?
year?
Second year. No.
Second year?
Second year.
Amber can provide an update as part of the discussion
I
next
think they were
month
getting
as
ready
well.
to winterize it.
Yeah, they
so-
winterize it each year, so.
Okay.
Just FYI, I don't know if everybody knows, but DEP put a floating wetland into Eagle Pond.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Do
actually
it?
took photos and videos for our social media for that.
Yeah.
Which pond?
Eagle Pond.
It's very small, it's, I'm sure, I
Oh,
doubt
I
they're
saw that
monitoring
picture.
it, but
But they do have some nice like educational material there.
yes, they did, really nice.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised that's,
What does a floating pond consist of?
It's a floating wetland, so basically we developed effectively a small barge, small dock that we put out into the pond
Wait.
that has plants in it
Okay.
that their root system goes into the water, and the thought being that it would uptake nutrients.
But you have to take it out in the winter? You have to winterize it?
Yeah, we'd take it out in the
Harvest the
winter
plants.
so that it doesn't
Okay.
freeze, and we harvest the plants, cause ultimately we have to harvest the plants to get the nutrients out.
So is
the,
this like what they're doing in the Charles River?
yes, they
Yeah.
put by the Science Museum,
Yeah,
same thing,
they've
yeah.
got them floating. Okay.
The system they put in Eagle Pond, they used wine corks to
Mhm.
float it.
Mhm. Yeah, we
Whose
also
house did they get it from?
somebody got to drink all that wine.
That's
Volunteers.
We need more pork.
We didn't have the ability to drink that much wine, so we had to.
Real pork or synthetic?
Yeah, right.
All right, well, we'll continue that discussion, Butch,
Okay.
thanks for bringing it up. Actually, whoever commented about, I guess Rob, about the next 5 years is a great segue to the next thing I wanna bring up that Gordon mentioned to me before the meeting, and maybe I'll let you just go ahead and
My,
it up.
my thought was to keep this committee going in some form, instead of sunsetting it. But I know Falmouth has a wastewater management plan, wastewater management committee that meets once a month. But there are issues that are gonna come up if we talk about phosphorus. Maybe we have to wait 5 years, and there are issues that we haven't gotten to that have to do with water. That was just my thought. I don't know if anybody wanna go home and think about it, or
I know Rob was thinking, he wanted to get some more meetings, so. No, I think it's an interesting idea.
what's that? Yeah.
If you keep
So,
the energy, if
The
you keep
idea
the
is, instead of
momentum
this
going.
being a 5-year update committee,
Yeah.
to make it a
Full-time.
continuing, like the Falmouth Water Quality Committee. And I think it's a reasonable idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good
No,
idea.
no,
I'm gonna send around a sign-up sheet here, just initial.
Do what the council tells us.
Yeah, you tell me you want a meeting, I'll set up a meeting.
Any thoughts?
Maybe it doesn't have to be,
You have to wait 5 years.
yeah,
That's a
not
good
to
point.
wait, not to wait 5 years, but to do some, maybe a more flexible meeting schedule. But just to keep the momentum going
Yeah,
and
meet
the
every other month, I don't know,
Yeah.
something like that, we talked about it,
It
yeah.
certainly seems like the problems and the technologies are evolving
Yeah,
continuously. They're not gonna wait for 5 years.
So then in 5 years, you're kind of starting.
More ahead of the game.
Yeah.
We stay current.
so maybe this is something that we think about
Yeah.
and come back to. I don't know, Chris, running agenda, I don't know if this goes on the next meeting but if you could keep a list of agenda items we haven't gotten to, this one we should certainly address before we conclude our work. Yes,
Who created us?
created what?
Town council.
Town
These
council
guys
president,
do.
the town council president did,
Okay,
Okay,
that she initiated
Okay.
these ad hoc committees.
so it would arguably be up to
yeah,
the town council
Yeah.
president
Oh, yeah.
to make this decision.
but I suspect if we offer it, they might.
Just one.
Yeah, I mean, the town used to have a water quality
was one, yeah.
advisory committee for years, that's, went defunct, but, with the number of water resource type issues that the town undertakes all the time, it would seem beneficial to have a, community,
Sitting committee, yeah,
Citizen
standing committee.
committee, and then, also, just thinking about, transitioning, as Scott has indicated, we might not be around for a while. If we have a committee that we can, recruit other folks in and that, I think it's, will benefit.
I remember when we had the original CWMP committee, and all those meetings in the other room. It's like, and then it stopped.
Yeah.
It's like, it was Jimmy Quacker said everybody go home or something.
I think Jimmy disbanded it, right?
Yeah.
Resources committee?
Yeah, well, with CWMP committee.
Right.
Yeah, the
Lindsay-
water
was it Lindsay
resources.
Council?
Yeah, Lindsay
Chair.
Chair,
Yeah.
Yeah. They were great meetings and everybody learned a lot, and then it was like, you're done.
Yeah.
You got the plan.
all the water issues have been solved.
Yeah, we got all, we got the 30-year plan,
Right.
so.
But the scope for this committee is limited to CWMP, it's not
Yes,
as broad as
yes,
what you were,
this is official.
Right.
So this would be-
Need tweaking, that's for sure.
So maybe it should be tweaked.
Recommendation would be beyond the timeframe of this committee. I mean, it could
Right.
morph
Right,
into it.
the mission statement kind of.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We'll work on that. Okay.
Gordon, I think you make a good point, and I think it would be not a good idea just to say, oh yeah, see you in 5 years, let's
Yeah.
come back. But to have some smaller group
Yeah.
that's looking at this periodically, could be,
Yeah.
Maybe it's every.
tertials a year or something like
Yeah.
that, 3 times a year or something, just to review the new technology, something like that would make
Well,
sense,
and
I
also
think.
looking at what's happening in the town, revisiting
Yeah.
what is currently going on and the feedback from people and.
I mean, you guys are gonna be doing it all the time, because that's what you do.
Is,
You're not wrong.
We'll be here.
We're gonna be here.
Okay, good, so we'll revisit that, think about it, and we'll make probably a vote on that when we wrap up. The only other item I had, and again came up in discussion with several people, is to get an update, and Rob, this is probably to you if you're still there, you're there, on the, where we're at on effluent disposal, if that's the right term, and we're wondering if we could get maybe an update presentation on that from you, or whoever is appropriate, maybe at the next meeting or the one after that. But certainly or if there's any quick updates today.
I can give you a quick update today.
Sure.
So and some of you have been part of some of these conversations along the way, so I apologize if this is stuff you guys have heard before. The town's really kind of pursuing effluent disposal on sort of three different paths: short-term, medium-term, and long-term. The short-term path is highly engaged right now. It's focused on extending the existing permit that's at the water pollution control facility and the existing capacity it's at the water pollution control facility. A lot of nuance there, but the existing permit is for 4.2 MGD treatment, 2.7 MGD max day effluent disposal. When the conversation was being had about those numbers, what the town was actually recommending was 2.7 average day. DEP at that time had a difficulty in terms of regulating to average day versus max day. There's lots of nuance in that conversation. Right now, Mark Ells is engaged with DEP leadership on that point. And so that conversation is actively ongoing. So short term is actively working. On the medium front, the thinking is that in order to be able to get us to the long term, and maybe it's easier to talk about the long term first. Long term, as many of you have heard me discuss before, the town has what we are currently building and starting to build, and that construction is going to, we just did the pre-construction meeting, we'll start in earnest after the new year with concrete placement, will be a plant with a 4-stage barn fall with MBRs at the backside of that. That's a pretty highfalutin plant. That catches all the way down to the virus level. What it doesn't catch is salts. PFAS being a salt. So if a PFAS regulation comes through, we would probably then have to look for one more additional treatment stage, either GAC or potentially RO. If we went to RO, the town's plant would then be producing distilled water, effectively. Certainly better than any product we could get out of the ground. And at that point, reuse would be a conversation we'd really want to have. The state currently, in terms of direct potable reuse, doesn't have regulations to support that. So we've had initial conversations with the state about modifying regulations to actually deal with that issue. That's a 10-year effort easily. And so we need this medium-term solution to get us from sort of the end of phase one until whenever long-term can come into effect. And so that medium-term solution we are currently working on now. We're doing the modeling to sort of look at different sites that could potentially be available or leveraging the site we have. Indirect has been part of that conversation to date, though I don't think it's probably where it's going to go. And so that's actively moving on as well. None of that is sort of finished product for public showtime. It's all very much sausage still being made, but that is currently. Oh, you guys all still there? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
You all of a sudden just changed the screen on me.
Yeah,
But that's currently where we're at, Scott.
Rob, thanks for that. Go ahead, somebody.
I had a question. So Rob,
yeah,
perhaps in the medium term, certainly the long term, are you considering resiting the treatment plant?
Awesome.
Moving it somewhere else?
Not sure I understand your question. Reciting the treatment?
No.
Moving,
Just
no.
effluent,
No.
All right. Just
Rob,
want to clarify.
can you just, I was making some notes as you were talking. Where does the medium term link to the 3 phases of sewering in your mind?
So short term will get us through the end of phase one, and probably actually it's looking like into phase two at this point in time. Medium term will be picking us up at that point in time. And then we don't know, obviously, based on state regulation and otherwise, and when long-term will come into play. So it's the bridge there, if you know what I mean.
So, I mean, would it be reasonable to assume that somewhere between phase 2 and phase 3?
Yeah, I would expect it, and this is Rob Steen talking, not the Department of Public Works.
I
So,
understand.
Any retributions on me personally, not on the department, but yes.
So those three, the short, medium, and long term, we could kind of think about generally as phases 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it kind of aligns. It looks like short term at this point, we'll go over that, into phase 2 more, but that could depend on the situations that come about.
So just to kind of continue that thought, if things went extremely well with the regulatory approach we just kind of are recommending, which would take over part of phase 3, and then if the Cranberry Bog work goes really well and Mill Pond goes really well,
yeah,
is it possible that we could avoid the long-term need?
There's a reason I put phase 3 on the table when I did, when we were talking IAs, is because the CWP has always anticipated that phase is going to be the most difficult to sewer, for topography reasons, distance reasons, et cetera, and that if the combination of this work that Z's done in bogs, the work Amber's doing in ponds, the work IAs do, we already know we're going to have to sewer probably realistically, unless there is phosphorus IAs that really come to the table, at least around Schubel's and Long Pond, Marston's Mills. So if you look at phase 3, there'll be 2 bullhorns that will go up each side of it, probably regardless. So is there a possibility that phase 3 ultimately becomes a hybrid? The CWP has always talked about that's a possibility. I would not tell you today that that's going to happen, because I don't know that that's going to happen. But I think we're doing good work right now, both as this committee and as the department, that could potentially position us in such a way that could be an outcome at some point in time. And yes, then that does tie back into the effluent conversation. That does tie back into the cost conversations that the council has. But nobody here should be able to promise that right now and should be trying to take the credit for that yet.
So I guess my question, and this is probably to everybody, including the committee and staff and everybody, does anybody want to have more discussion on that here? Rob just gave us a very quick update. We want to dig into this a little deeper and get a more detailed understanding of what's going on and what the ramifications of this are, the options, or are we satisfied with what Rob just told us?
I think it's a big issue.
Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting.
To get into a little bit more, a little more detail.
I'd like to know what the other sites are.
Okay, so Rob, could we ask you to give a little bit more of a detail at a future meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to let Mark continue his conversations with the state and understand where those conversations go. Just so, because I think that's going to linchpin in terms of how a lot of this stuff's going to fall out.
So,
But could you provide us like a bullet list of like the medium range solutions? I couldn't quite keep up with your list when you said them.
Yeah.
If you're making sausage, what are the ingredients? That kind of thing.
I mean, I think thanks for doing that quick summary. Sorry, and I apologize for putting you on the spot there, didn't mean it. But I think going through this just a little bit more slowly so we can ask questions and get the best understanding. I think we all recognize that you're doing some cutting edge stuff with the state on the ultimate treatment and reuse. And my experience working with the state on issues like that is I never really am confident when I'm going to get the final answer, because these are complicated issues. 1 month can easily go to a year, and a year can go beyond that. That's been my experience. And again, it's just very complicated. So I think it would be helpful to hear what I'm hearing from a few of the committee members, just to get whatever you can tell us. I think Gordon was asking about some of the disposal sites that are being considered as options.
Yeah.
And what did you say, Tom? A little bit more on what?
It's the same thing, the medium term.
The short term, medium term.
Medium term is offsite disposal.
Okay.
If you go back to the last previous facility plan efforts that looked at offsite disposal on the north side, it could pretty much the same sites.
So let me here's my concern with this, Scott.
Yep.
It's not with this committee. We've looked at, well, we definitely have looked at 17 sites that we've now talked extensively about. There's actually been more sites than that have been looked at. I can promise you at the end of the day, we will not be ultimately touching 17 sites. Probably not even a smaller percentage of that. However, does that create firestorms because we're looking in different areas? This committee's scientific intellectual curiosity, I completely understand, but it's a public meeting. And if it's not ready for public viewing, I'm just concerned that we could, again, as of right now, we've got over 17 sites that we've touched and looked at. We're not going to those, probably. But does that alarm people that even got looked at, and does that create its own firestorm before we need to actually have that?
I know you did a good presentation that's a video of this issue to town council, and so I don't know how much more detail we're asking for, maybe a little bit more. I think it's kind of what we were established to do. Yeah, so I don't know, it sounds like you're cautioning us about using our venue here as it would be a kind of an opening of a box that everybody's, could be a Pandora's box or something. I don't know, but I think it's having seen your video, everything that you're doing seems very well reasoned in that, and so I think the committee's just interested in kind of an update on that, and even like with the Falmouth ENF on an outfall again, is that something? I'm just curious to say, what has that changed your thoughts on anything or your discussions with that, and then not that it's that it's directly related, but it actually is that we know that the town has been sued by CLF on an issue of the effluent and what's going on with that as far as the speed. It sounded like it was all about groundwater speed going. It sounded like
Tom,
inflated reasoning that they had. I don't know. So
let me speak to a couple of those issues real quickly. So the CLF lawsuit is about the permit we hold. So their contention is that the town should hold a NIPDES permit, which is an EPA granted permit. EPA's contention is the town is regulated by DEP and should hold a groundwater discharge permit. We can't get a NIPDES permit from EPA. CLF's contention is we should, and they're using the Maui case that says, look, at some point, groundwater discharge is effectively the same thing as a direct surface water body discharge. That's what that whole conversation is about. It ranges around that. Regarding outfalls, if you look at the CWMP in 2000, 2001 timeframe, we did a study on outfalls for the town of Barnstable. We looked at the north side and the south side. Cost estimates at that time were ranging up to, in 2020 dollars, are ranging up to about $320 million to do it. On the south side, because of the depths, you're going to need to go 12,000 feet offshore with it. On the north side, because the depths are better, you can go 4,000 feet offshore with it. Due to the costs that were predicted at that time and due to the political, social, and other concerns that we had previously heard about ocean outfall, we've left that behind. So we did go down that hole. We've looked at it. It is one of the things that we've actually talked about and looked at, but we have left it behind at this point in time. So I just wanted to kind of address both those things, sort of, since we're here having this conversation.
Thanks. That's good feedback. Appreciate that.
Question. So the recommendation we're making with respect to this now, what's the timing on this? So when is that going forward? and it's going to the town council, correct?
Well,
So what's the expectation on that?
When we were getting, before, we were getting started tonight, I asked that
Yeah.
question, because I was under the presumption we were gonna wrapping up in the next month or so.
Yeah, right.
What I'm hearing is we don't have a deadline.
No.
And
And
maybe.
there's a town election coming up, correct? Yeah.
Chris, do you wanna speak to that?
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask the staff, what does DPW need this committee to do
Oh, yeah.
to fulfill
State,
your obligation
5 years.
for our
Okay.
review?
But the point I wanna make,
Yeah.
and I don't wanna interrupt, is this is a explosively large and complex politically and,
A disposal issue.
correct, and it does it mess up? And it's what we're trying to accomplish in the short term. I mean, these are important and really big issues, and it's, is it out of our scope? I'm not sure it is in our scope, and does it undermine what we're trying to do here in terms of the recommendations we're making? If we start to bring that now into the discussion, will that take over and sort of displace what we're trying to do here?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
My thought, and I tried to articulate this a little bit earlier, is that I think this recommendation does link into what ultimately happens to phase 3. And when Rob was speaking about the short-term, medium, and long-term, I was trying to figure out how does that fit? And it sounds like it fits somewhat. 1, 2, 3 is his short-term, medium, long-term. So I think the way it links in my mind, Rob, is that if this and stuff that might go with it, addressing this phase 3 area, can be successful, we might be able to avoid some pretty significant requirements on the long-term disposal issue. That's what I was trying to get in my head, is exactly how does this relate? I'm not sure I still fully understand, but I think what I heard Rob say is phase 3 is kind of lined up with the long-term bigger issue. So it strikes me that if we can work towards an alternative plan, not to substitute at this point, we don't know enough, but to at least get the town to a point where we can understand how likely it is that we might be able to avoid that long-term thing. It strikes me that could be a major advantage. I don't know, I'm not suggesting we can do that. I'm just suggesting maybe we could think about that. So to that extent, I think there is a connection. And maybe I almost heard enough from Rob tonight to ask that question. I was not as concerned with where the sites are, which might be the more politically charged thing. To me, that doesn't really matter. What matters what I was thinking about was more, how does this relate to what we might do with phase 3? But that was just me. I know others have maybe other questions about the disposal option situation. You're right, I don't think we don't want this to take over our work if this is gonna be.
To me, it gets in the way, but
Yeah,
I
okay,
don't know.
okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Anybody else think?
Well, the first order of business is get this presented to the town council with no extraneous issues.
Yeah.
It's just this one, what do you think about it? Let's have a vote on it. Or what? Have them have a vote on it.
But this recommendation specifically isn't linked to the 5-year update. It's not.
Is not. This recommendation.
Because this recommendation does not change our CWMP.
Right.
We still have the plan in place that's been approved and accepted. This is, like we've always said, is in addition to.
In addition to.
Right.
So it's not something that has to be in the 5-year update.
So on that, the 5-year update is like, I'm not sure how into the weeds we get in on this thing. Like Scott says, all right, so we've got this, we just got the cliff notes on this, and maybe that's all we need. But I think as a committee, we've talked about the IA systems and how we got this great recommendation. But there's all these other aspects to the CWMP that are, we've talked about that, we talked about grinder pumps, we talked about ponds. There's probably some other issues that, if we're really, sunsetting, at the end of the year, we want some report, and these are the issues we talked about. I'd like to think that, we talked about issues that are relevant to the implementation of the CWMP. yeah, we talked about, the effluent disposal, we've talked about grinder pumps, we've talked about, certainly the IA systems and trying to move this along, and geez, Scott, maybe if we are able to articulate that, as you did, is to say, how it potentially impacts and benefits the town down the way for some options in phase 3. That's really cool stuff, I think. So I don't know, I think, topically, what are some of the other big issues that, we'd like to say as a committee that, we had a discussion about it and these are things that we talked about. And so that's, I don't know, are we having a final report? I think it would.
I mean, at the end of the day, we'll certainly be producing a final report. At the end of the day, the intent of the committee was to advise the council on the development of the adaptive management plan, which ultimately is what we'll be producing. There are aspects of what's been discussed here that will be in that plan, and then there are aspects of that report that haven't necessarily been discussed here and really are an update on what we've done to date, right? But that really is where we're heading at the end of this, right? Is we'll be preparing a report that has to get submitted as part of our CWMP that informs kind of the next 5 years.
And Griffin, so I understand, are you suggesting that your report will include some of what Rob's talking about here with respect to the disposal options? Is that part of?
We are required, there's a list of 30 to 40 items that need to be included in the report.
Yep.
One of them is an update on our progress for effluent disposal. So, and we report on that in our annual report each year as well. So we have an annual report each year we have to submit to the Cape Cod Commission. It also goes to DEP. And then we have this formal 5-year adaptive management plan update, which is ultimately what the genesis of this committee was to help advise the council on the development of that.
Could you provide us with an outline of what, the topical outline of what would be in that, so we can make sure that we've talked about the things that we think we need to, that would be great.
All of the annual reports are also available on Barnstable Water Resources, so if you wanna take a look and see what we've reported annually, it might give you a little bit of a foundation as well.
You have a topical outline.
Yeah, I have an outline.
Yeah, we have an outline of the report, and then there's also an outline in our approvals for the CWMP of what we need to report on in this upcoming report. Ultimately, that report needs to be submitted in year 5, and we're in year 5 now. Year 5 ends at the end of the fiscal year.
Just thinking about it, one
fiscal year.
Fiscal.
One topic that was interested is like the monitoring aspect of the plan.
Correct.
And
So Lois just pointed out something to me, I just wanna get clarification on.
Louise.
What's that?
Louise, not Louise.
Louise, I'm sorry.
Maybe we do need the name tags.
CWMP must be submitted to DEP December 2025. Is that your deadline?
It's not. The deadline is in year 5 of the CWMP, which actually extends to the end of the fiscal year. So
I'm sorry.
I think the intention originally was to
that was our original
have the
intent,
report done.
to have the report done. Correct.
So we're not held to this time?
That's our understanding, correct?
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Yes. I mean, our goal is to wrap up this effort in the near term of preparing this report so we get it in. We don't wanna be submitting the report past the deadline or even approaching the deadline. We got a lot of work to do to prepare the report.
Where are we ending up on this? I'm hearing a couple different things. Do we wanna hear a little more from Rob on this or not?
I would like to know what does the staff need from this committee to flesh out your report?
So, I mean, I think we've touched on the items that we wanted to touch on so far. There have been a handful of tangential discussions, grinder pumps being one of them, that were items that we wanted to discuss from a policy perspective. The report, a lot of the report is fairly administrative, and certainly we can share the items that we need to report on in the report. A lot of them are administrative updates on progress, right? So that's just us turning around what we've done, right? Any policy changes we need to be reporting on. So a recommendation that comes from this committee would be something that we would at a minimum report in the report and say there was an ad hoc committee, a civic committee that was developed they've made these recommendations to the council, they will be continued to be further pursued, or the council adopted them, or whatever, right? So it would be something that would be reported in the report.
But are there any voids that you would envision that?
No, I think the point is that if this committee had come up with anything that materially changes our plan,
Right.
or changes the direction or the intent, that we would clearly put that in there.
I see.
But so far, what the committee's doing is working on things that we had anticipated working on in the original plan, which was incorporating alternative technologies to, in the end, possibly reduce the reliance on sewers in phase 3. So that we've worked on that. Now, we can update that we've worked on that.
Yeah.
And we will do that.
I'm
But I don't
just
think there's any
coming from the
definitive.
point that as you come to your deadline, are there any unfinished business that we need to address?
So, yeah, I mean, we're continuing to advance the report, and so certainly if we identify any holes that we feel we need input from the committee, we would certainly bring that to the committee.
So,
Hey, Scott?
Yep.
Yeah, I got a jet. I gotta go pick up a kid from a school function. Do you guys need anything more from me?
No, thank you for the quick update you did, Rob, that was great.
One thing I wanted to do before I left is, now that we've voted on this recommendation, I just want to give a minute of credit to Chris Gadd. He spent an enormous amount of time writing and rewriting and having to have me redline, and, you know, he's put in a tremendous amount of effort behind the scenes on this, and it could go easily unnoticed. So I just want to take a minute to say, Chris, well done, good job getting us to a vote today. You did a lot of credit on that. With that, thank you all very much. I'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you.
Speech.
Well,
Did you wanna bring
Yeah,
this
so-
one up?
Well, we're looking at this list here, and what you were just talking about, things that were articulated that we would address, private roads and sidewalks.
The request for this practice to be discussed was made by the DPW staff. The current practice for private roads is for the town to obtain an easement for sewer installation. Specific, specific questions pertaining to private roads include, should the existing practice be continued as is? Alternatively, should the town take the road? So we haven't even touched on that. Do you need our recommendation on private roads
That's
and
more of a
sidewalks?
policy.
I don't think that's necessary for the adaptive management plan. It's a policy item that's related to the CWMP that's kind of been out there and hasn't had a group working on it. So I think it was why we identified it early on.
Okay,
But you want us to work on it or not?
I mean, do you
Wanna
wanna know?
tell us about it? At another meeting, I don't know.
We could certainly provide a briefing on the issue, and if the committee wants to take it up, they can.
I mean, my quick thought on this is, isn't this a planning department, planning board kind of area that they're gonna know a lot more about this than we are? And couldn't they develop some recommendations if, I'm not sure we have much expertise on this.
Well, they're
Yeah, several months ago, there was a presentation on
Town manager's done
private
a few
roads,
of them.
public roads. It was quite extensive, and we're certainly not.
The town manager pretty much has a plan now, which, as you mentioned, they kind of concurred with and agreed to at the council level, which kind of overtook our thoughts about what we would do here.
about easements for sewer
They have a
installation.
prioritization of what roads they want to take from private to public,
Okay,
which is the goal, I think. Ultimately, people have agreed to, that's the goal. We want to do that
okay.
in the community. So I think there's a plan in place for that.
So
So
we
we don't
don't
need-
need to bat that
I
around.
don't think so.
Okay,
And sidewalks as well.
same thing,
Yeah.
I would think, okay. There's nothing on the next page? Yes, we
The
got that. And that would
SRF,
be the community septic program, too.
yeah,
We
and
got
now
that.
we have to get more
Yep, yep.
information. Grinder pumps,
We talked about grinder pumps, we,
yeah,
Didn't come to any resolutions.
No, we didn't.
okay.
So one of the things,
Chris,
So has aquaculture been,
agriculture, well, did Amber bring that up with you?
Amber brought it up in her initial presentation of non-traditional.
And I actually
Options.
asked her if we have data on if there have been increases in shellfish, which we might be able to claim credit for. I think she said that they couldn't get the data very well from DMF. We did talk about it, but I'm not sure how far.
Chris, can you add it to the notes and we can have Amber report on it?
I mean, there are some, the Cape Cod Commission did develop the technology matrix and some proposed credits, Tom, on.
Yeah, they did,
The
yeah.
DEP kind of agreed to some of that, I can't remember exactly.
Signed off on the plan, yeah.
So if we had data, and again, in Wellfleet, we did have data, we had a significant amount more shellfish growing than they had even when the MEP study was done. That's what I asked Amber, because MEP was what, 2006?
Depending upon the watershed.
So 20 years ago. I mean, just from, I'm down in Katuitt, I see Chris Gargiulo out there doing a lot more than he did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So my guess is there's more going on. I don't know, what the benefit of that is, it could be articulated. But I think my recollection is, she said the data wasn't readily available from DMF. I could be wrong in that, but that's what I thought she said.
I don't know, I'd have to ask her.
I'm speculating that our water quality would be a lot worse if we didn't have these oyster farms.
Probably, yes, probably.
Speculating. But check the calendar, it looks like the town council will be meeting beyond the October 23rd. Will be November 6th, which is 2 days after the election, then November 20, then December 4, and December 11. So if there's an opportunity when you want to give an update, if that dovetails with your expectations for updating the plan.
What are the dates again? 11?
December 4th, December 11th. And November
6th, November 20.
Okay, and then December 4th
4 and 11.
and 11.
Well, and then we just planned our next meeting, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we just planned our meeting for the third week in November, so.
Right.
I would say either December 4th or
4th or
11th would
the
be the
11th.
likely.
So that would be
That's
what
gotta
we
be.
would shoot for.
What days of the week are those?
Thursdays.
Like what time?
6.
Oh.
But that's when the meeting starts.
The 11th,
But you can do the 11th,
I cannot do the 4th.
because you'll have to make the presentation to the council, correct?
Why I'm scouting this out is I can convey this to the council president
The 11th?
for agenda setting.
Rob's sitting at the head of the table, maybe.
Well, no, I'm deferring to the chairman on this, I'll make a presentation.
Because he would have to, do I understand that correctly, that you would make your presentation to the town council?
And would this be
Right.
presumably final of the committee, or is this?
Well, that seems to be
Not
up
if
in the
we
air,
recommend to stay alive.
Well, no, we still have to do, for the purpose of the 5-year update.
Right, that
Yeah.
would be you'd make the presentation on the 11th, and then after that, if the town council wants us to
Continue on.
keep the momentum going in addressing these, then maybe we can come back in a different form.
Or form a new committee.
But I think to keep the momentum and just keep touching base on the technologies that are happening, what's going on currently, it's.
Okay. So the calendar,
So I'm gonna make the presentation on the 11th.
so you'll mention that to the,
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
how long of a presentation it was typically?
What do you need?
Yeah, whatever.
Huh?
Whatever you want.
Oh. 10 minutes. Can I ask some of my fellow members to come with me? Yes. Oh, yeah. Public, yes.
I'm wondering if I could get 2 minutes to introduce myself and one other CWMP
Yes,
question. Okay.
yes, please.
My name's Jack Campo. I know Louise for many years. I've been a seasonal or year-round resident in Hyannisport since 1968. I was on the board for many years, served as treasurer and then president of the Hyannisport Civic Association. When we learned about the CWMP back around 2018, I talked with Mr. Bowden. I had some very good discussions with him. The conclusion at the time was that Hyannisport should not be included in the sewer extension because it's a seasonal community. Things have changed since 2018. And I just wanted to introduce the question so that you and the town staff might consider it in due course about whether we could add Hyannisport to the sewer extension. If you look at the map, we now have in phase 1 and 2, the sewer is close already and it's being drawn even closer, and a private landowner with a house on Hyannis Harbor there in Hyannisport paid to extend the sewer over 1,200 feet. So there's now a foothold in Hyannisport. Hyannisport is not as seasonal as it used to be. By the way, Chris, you have a deck that you could feel free to share if you like. It's just one page. Hyannisport is not as seasonal as it used to be. I was surprised to see data that suggests that year-round residents are more than double what they were in 2018. It's in the deck that I sent to you and to Chris late this afternoon, so you probably haven't had a chance to see it. The beaches have been shut regularly every summer. Fortis Beach in Hyannisport, Keys Beach right next to Hyannisport, because of fecal contamination. And I don't know if that's because there are a lot of cesspools and septic systems still in Hyannisport, a lot of old houses there. My parents' house had a cesspool. The first house I bought had a cesspool. They both had to be replaced, but there's still a lot left. And you have the CLF lawsuit, which looks at the impact on the waters that adjoin Hyannisport. Hyannis Harbor, Stewart's Creek, Halls Creek, that's all around Hyannisport. And yet the plan right now is everything will be sewered. Oh good, this is it. So we're just talking here. Squaw Island is another matter. I think that would be a great place for IA systems. I've heard about them from my friend Bruce Walden, who I understand is friends with a couple of you, and he's speaking with you tomorrow.
Yes, yes.
So, if we could just, it's now come to here. This is phase 1, phase 2. You can see it's being extended. It's already everywhere else around us. West Hyannisport is going to be sewered. Why leave Hyannisport out?
So just so I get clear, this whole area is on septic?
Yes. Yes. And I can understand some concern about going all the way out to Squaw Island. That's a long way. Go IA there. If there are other topographic concerns about Hyannisport, go IA there too. But to extend the density here is considerable. It's right on the water. And the last bit of my pitch is we pay the highest taxes in Barnstable and put the least burden on Barnstable. So there's a major contribution from Hyannisport. We're not sending a lot of kids, it's mostly retirees now. COVID, work from home, retirees, a lot more people live year-round or extended season in Hyannisport now. And given that these beaches keep closing, let's fix it. That's my pitch. Please consider it when
Griffin, just to get clear, the reason for leaving it out was the seasonality?
No,
TMDL.
ultimately we designed the sewer expansion program in the Lewis Bay watershed, which is in the Lewis Bay watershed, to achieve the TMDL. So we sewered the areas that we needed to basically achieve the TMDL. We didn't need to do that. We didn't need to expand into all of Hyannisport to achieve the TMDL, so we drew the line at a certain point. It happens to be at a topographical point. But that's ultimately how we developed the plan town-wide. So there's white spaces throughout the town where we didn't need to go into to achieve the TMDL, and certainly we could sewer the whole town.
The other question I guess I have is the closed beaches that you mentioned, that's probably more of a pathogen issue, stormwater? rather than septic, or are there septic problems down there with pathogens?
It's my understanding that it would be more of what you're stating. I mean, Keys Beach, for instance, is entirely sewered around it. Fortis Beach is kind of down into this area, so I don't know the issue directly.
Town
Yeah.
swimming beaches,
Right.
Fortis is right here.
Right.
Keys
is right there. And that gray is all sewered area.
Right.
Yeah.
This is,
In the water.
this is phase two, this is phase one. Love to.
Yeah.
I would hope you could reconsider. I may have misunderstood. You did say something about seasonal back in 2018, and maybe that was
I mean, it was a
incidental.
combination of considerations, right? So when we're developing the plan, we wanna get the most bang for the buck, right? So we wanna sewer areas where there's higher water usage and higher nitrogen going into the environment. At the same time, we don't wanna, when we're developing a plan, we're trying to be fiscally responsible as well and sewer the parcels that we need to in order to achieve the TMDL, which was the ultimate goal at the time. So drawing a line in that location, as well as the other things we were doing in the Lewis Bay watershed, ultimately achieve the TMDL. Any expansion beyond that would be more of a policy question. Do we want to spend additional money to expand our program?
I've already taken more time.
No, this is,
than I
thank you for
intended.
bringing this up, this is really interesting, but one other question for me is, do you know if MEP doing their loading, considered this area to be less load because of the seasonality?
It's based on water use. So whatever the water use is what was in the MEP and what was in our consideration as well.
So maybe this area is contributing a larger load than
It may be, and
maybe
seasonality has
assumed 20
changed,
years ago.
potential.
Okay.
It's probably excluded as part of the MEP solution, watershed solutions for nitrogen removal that, much in the same way as Grand Island and parts of Katuitt and all that are, right adjacent to the bay that, aren't included in the sewering. So it's kind of a similar thing to that as what I'm seeing, is kind of the explanation that
Yeah, and during the planning process, there were areas that were identified. And then ultimately, we had to expand areas in order to achieve the TMDLs, and that's how we landed on the plan that we landed on. Again, any expansion of the plan really would come down to a policy decision of do we want to expand the plan for other reasons? To achieve the TMDLs based on the modeling, this is what we have to do, which was our goal at the time.
What is a TMDL?
The total maximum daily load, so ultimately to remedy the pollution, the nitrogen pollution in the watershed, this is what we had to do to achieve that.
Well, thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
I was
I
gonna
didn't
get to you and
expect
go,
an
quick.
answer
I
today.
knew you were waiting patiently.
Well, it was a very interesting.
I did see your email, so
Yes,
we'll
thank you.
certainly remain in touch.
Thank you, sir.
Now, is this something that within our purview could be?
Oh, by the way,
It's
Betty
not-
Lutke is our town councilor and is a strong supporter of this.
Betty.
Betty Lutke.
Well, I think,
Dan was gonna say something.
if, if the nitrogen load has changed, which it sounds like if it was based on water use, and the water use is higher now, this is a higher load, so.
It's not gonna, we would have to crunch the numbers and run a new model
not gonna
run, but I
be
can't imagine it's
hugely
going to move the
significant.
needle to the point that we have to
Right.
sewer additional parcels because we designed the program with a buffer as it is, right? So, for technical reasons, I don't, to achieve the TMDL, I don't think we need to do this.
Okay.
If there are other reasons the community would like to, there's certainly,
Right.
that's certainly within the community's decision.
It sounds to me like the TMDL doesn't factor in proximity to water. And I saw the 1,000-foot distance for IA. Everything I'm talking about is within 1,000 feet
Yep.
of Hyannis Harbor, which is sadly increasingly polluted. And I don't
To
know.
me is a reason actually why the effort that we're talking about for the 1,000 feet could be germane to Hyannisport.
Yes.
So one of the things that I think that we need to do is talk about the preamble to this presentation that we're asking for is what are the potential benefits? And to me, part of that is the learning experience from taking this 1,000-foot slice and potentially applying it to other areas. To me, the lessons potentially learned, even though we're not looking to impact the 5-year plans, is to be able to
look at the next 5-year plan and say, we've learned this, and we've learned it about a couple of key things. One is gonna be cost, and how much it actually would cost to put in IAs at some scale. And the other one that I really hadn't spent time on until we spent time on it today is flow, and what that may mean in terms of the disposal load and how that could change the math, particularly for phase 3, obviously, when we're gonna run into bigger challenges. So I mean, a couple of those preamble points I'd like to see us incorporate, so the town council, when they're looking at it, says, okay, we're looking at this, 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 and this, and maybe there's 3 to 5 bullet points to talk about why these steps potentially are very important. It's gonna table that, but I think the gentleman brings up, a good point in an area. This has always bothered me about Centerville and the Centerville Bumps River area, which theoretically is fine, but really, it's not fine. We know it's not fine, right? So, and that could be an area of expansion ultimately, anyway.
Not to get into
Think
the
about
weeds on
those.
this, but the other thing I'm thinking about is, do you have the cost savings if you don't do phase 3 sewer is kind of my question. That might oversimplify it, but I'm just thinking, we've heard from Rob.
Yeah, we have planning level estimates based on road miles, so we have road miles reported in the report, and we.
Well, I'm
based on
thinking about that, but I'm
road miles,
also thinking about the extra treatment that Rob's talking about here, going to RO, GAC, et cetera. I guess what I'm wondering, have you gone through that calculation to know that if something magical happens in phase 3 and this doesn't have to happen, how much money reduction?
So it's a complicated issue, we could extend this meeting quite a while by answering this question.
No, I'm not asking for that. But do you have that number?
No, because ultimately, the trigger for direct potable reuse would potentially be other factors, right? Like, you need to treat down to a different standard, so you're already treating down far enough that it makes sense to use that resource. Not, that's what we're gonna do because we have to get rid of the water.
Right.
They may ultimately line up such that they make sense to do them at the same time as the solution. The medium solution is looking at a more traditional solution of disposal. Absent that other trigger to have to treat to a higher standard, there may not be a reason for the medium solution to advance to the long-term solution, if you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So, no, because ultimately the long-term solution is really triggered by other potential factors, not necessarily the need to get rid of water. The medium solution potentially could be the long-term solution if we don't need to treat to a higher standard.
Okay. Well, again, I don't want, this is a complicated discussion, but.
I just had another point on this Hyannisport thing, is that I was thinking the same thing, it's like, well, there's like a lot of surface water there, the 1,000 feet thing, but is Halls Creek nitrogen sensitive? I'm not sure.
No, it's not, it has a similative capacity.
Yeah, so
This is technically in Lewis Bay watershed though.
Yeah.
Halls Creek is a completely separate sub-watershed.
What is?
Halls Creek is a completely
Isn't
separate.
that Halls Creek on the
Halls
other
Creek is
side
to
there?
the left, correct?
There.
This is Halls Creek right here.
There's a sub-watershed that goes up.
For whatever reason, it's one of the areas supposedly affected by the effluent according to the CLF lawsuit. So it's Halls Creek, Stewart's Creek, Inner Harbor. And there you see the name Halls Creek, it goes up
Yeah,
there
the
as well.
MEP identified it as not nitrogen sensitive.
Right. So they.
Because it has a similar, yeah,
It's actually got a very small footprint.
it does have a football.
Not
Within circles and all that,
geographically, I'm
yeah.
talking about the contributing area,
Correct.
which is outside of this map that you can't see. Is actually quite small in terms of the number of houses.
Well, it encircles those surface waters and then it goes up grading, right?
Yes.
Effectively the white area you see there, and that's intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't turn the watershed boundaries on.
My understanding is some of the problem with the beach closings is actually the nitrogen effluent coming from the sewage treatment plant, which flows down gradient under my house into around Stewart's Creek and towards Fritz Beach.
Where is that understanding from?
That's my understanding that.
I mean, is that something that's documented? Or that's what you think?
That's what I think.
I think it's a contribution in the MEP that goes into Stewart's Creek there.
No, I understand that, but he's
Yeah.
saying the beach closures.
Oh, the beach closures.
Are related to this issue.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Well, that's
don't
what I
think
was
so.
about, but it's probably more stormwater related.
Yeah, there's no evidence of that at this time.
Pathogens.
Yeah, you don't
Well,
wanna
listen-
be in that water.
This is, thank you again for bringing this up. We could probably spend the whole meeting on this issue. But I don't know whether this comes back on our agenda or not.
That's an issue for you. So based on what I was gonna say, what Griffin said was true. We would not take this on because we have a plan.
Right.
That does what it's supposed to
Right.
do. But if this committee feels for other reasons
Yeah.
that it wants to, in the future, include this for whatever reasons in our sewer collection area and treat this area, then that could be a recommendation that comes out of the group. But to make that recommendation substantively, you would need data, you'd need to,
Right.
we'd need to do a lot of work, we'd have to do a model run, we'd have to look at water use, it'd be quite a bit of research that would have to be done.
On your
for then-
part.
On our part, for you to say, yeah, this makes sense or not.
So Chris, why don't we put this on the longer term potential list? And I'm
Yes.
guessing some of these, if in fact we decide or the town council decides to extend the longevity of this committee, some of these things we may defer beyond.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we can, I mean, the best consultant recommendation is more study, right?
Well, this was linked, this issue was linked to what we had identified as a policy issue early on. There's plenty of areas other than this one that aren't sewered.
Right. No, I know,
Right?
but
And
I
we
was
got
thinking that.
plenty of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
asking us
Sure,
about
sure.
sewering.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement, it's a policy decision, and this is more in your realm than ours.
Yeah, there are
And the
other-
council's realm.
It's probably more direct to the
Well,
town
yeah,
council.
ultimately the council, right.
Because if other issues are unrelated maybe to the CWMP.
And the tricky part is if we expand sewer to even a home outside of our current CWMP, we have to go to MIPA for a notice of project change. And it's quite an effort.
Yeah.
Talk about consultants.
We love that stuff.
And if you're suing in these areas, then it's taking capacity at the plant.
Taking capacity at the plant and resources, yep.
Needs to be
Oh,
allocated.
that's the other thought I was having. If again, phase 3 gets reduced or goes away, that potentially frees up some capacity for some other areas that people might want to petition the council for. Right? So, but this may probably well beyond our scope. All right, I'm looking at the clock here on top of Griffin's head there, and it's head past 8 o'clock.
I was a little late when I came in, so if you've already approved minutes, but I did have a couple of changes that I would like to talk to.
2 minutes?
To Chris about, and I don't
Thank
need,
you.
Thanks,
if it's
Jay.
okay. Go for it. Or I could just do that
I'm sorry, you
offline.
want to make changes to the minutes we approved?
Yeah.
Cause he came in.
Because it
and-
came in
Came in
late.
late.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you're late.
Okay, well, it says that, the Commons Field was sewered in 1989, I said 79. Page 16, we talk about 25% will vastly change the volume, and it's not related to anything previous to that. And then page 15, I was not making a suggestion to penalize folks that have cesspools. I was pointing out that the idea to have everybody who has a cesspool to put in an IA system is a penalty if it's outside a nitrogen sensitive area. So those are things, I could talk to you offline if it's okay.
Why don't you send me and Chris your suggested edits?
Thank you.
And if we think we can get them done administratively, well, otherwise we'll bring it back for amended approval at the next meeting. Okay,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
All right.
I'd love another motion to adjourn. Sure. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that was a great.